So I'd now like to give the floor to Bogusław Michalik, who will speak on the scientific rationales for improving regulatory approaches to water treatment and management. So the floor is yours, Bogusław.
Good morning to everyone. So my presentation is has a little bit more generic character and nature. So and then we try to conclude about some works which were done in frame of the radar, just to prepare some specific recommendation how we can improve the existing regulation in this matter. So I think that at the end of the radar project, all of you knows very well how norm looks like, so and then it's not necessary to provide any additional information, but just to remind you the most important feature of norm, as you can see on the picture, which makes them different from the classical radioactive waste. So, and then, as I said, during the radar project, we had the opportunity to collect a lot of the information about the all problems related to natural radioactivity. So, and then it led us to just to provide some suggestions for the improvement. Some few suggestions were already prepared, and then I try to very shortly show what are our proposals. The first one is that the problem discussed is the situation of the norm residue, which we consider the norm residue in the terms of the existing system of the management of the common, let's say, the ordinary waste. So, and then what is the important fact in case of norm? So it is clear for you now that the norm existed for many years before the problem of radioactivity was discovered, and then already such industries just involved in the norm issues are working for many years. So, and all waste which are created due to such activity are already included in the existing system of the management of the waste. And the content of the radionuclides is an additional property recently considered in the terms of the radiation protection. So, and then it is a very simple and more or less obvious conclusion that the best option to create the management system for the norm is just to integrate this problem into existing system for the waste management, which is based on the European directives dealing with the waste and dealing with the waste from the extractive industries. So we spent some works, and then we are analyzing what is going on currently. So what is going on currently, for example, in Poland or in the Czech Republic, currently how the waste which recently are classified as a norm, what we are doing with this type of the waste, and the very quick and simple conclusion is that the existing system is covering all problems related to the norm, and what we need to consider, especially just making this problem very simple, is only to consider the external radiation, because the other properties of the norm residues are more or less the same as in case of the so-called common ordinary waste. So, and then conclusion is that we can just try to include and build the management system for norm treatment and recovery just based on the existing European regulation. But the one limiting fact is that if we classify norm as a radioactive waste, so this solution is not allowed at all. So, and the next suggestion is how to solve this problem that norm can be classified as a radioactive waste. So based on our norm survey, which was just done in frame of the radar norm project, we recognize that very often in some countries, European countries, the norm residues can be classified as a radioactive waste. So, and then this classification can lead to the considerable technical, organizational, and primary economic implication regarding disposal, thereby hindering their recovery. So, in this, it is a very complex situation. But on the other hand, that looking into the overall features of the norm, as I showed you on the first slide, so we have a lot of rationales that try to classify the norm residue in a completely different way as a radioactive waste. what is the proposed solution is just to prepare a special category of waves which are just defined, no matter if you use the abbreviation norm or not. So just to defining the properties and then try to establish the separate way for the treatment, and then we will be able just to follow the suggestion number 1. So, and then a kind of the natural consequence of this approach is also to look in this problem, especially from the perspective of the possible mitigation method, especially when we're talking about the occupational exposure, is just to use the existing systems, which occupational health and safety system, which are just already applied in each kind of the industry, which are focused on the different stressors which are present in the workplaces. And then very clear conclusion is that many of the existing systems, just to protect the workers against, for example, the dust or the other physical or the chemical stressors at the workplaces, they are also working very well against the radiation. I think that the best example is just when you consider the dust. Dust is the one of the most important physical stressor which is present on the workplaces. And then we do something just to limit the dust content in the air. Also, automatically, we limit the inhalation of the radionuclides which can be included in the dust. For that, it is not necessary to do any. So it is not necessary to make too much additional work because some things are more or less obvious. And then what is the most important in this case, just look in the organization of the work, because the organization of the work could be the most efficient mitigation method, also involving industries. The next suggestion is just focus on the existing system of the classification of the non-residue. You know very well exemption and the clearance level, and you know the magic number 1 becquerel per gram, which are just recommended, so not recommended, it's the regulation for each decay survey. The rationale for that is that this limit was established based on the range of the occurrence of the natural radionuclides in the soil. It is just not good justified solution, and then it is working for many years. So just from the, if I remember correctly, 2005, when the first recommendation about the clearance and exemption level were published by IEA. In fact, it is a significant regression when we compare this approach with what's done before and published in the Radiation Protection 122 in Europe. What is our suggestion? So first, of course, this approach, just providing this clearance and exemption level after 1 becquerel per gram expressed as activity concentration for all decay series. It is the problem with the interpretation, the simple which radionuclides we have to consider when we have the mixture of the radionuclides, and what is the important in case of the non-residue or the norm at all. We have no secular equilibrium. And then we have the number of the radionuclides with the different activity concentration. So, and then the next important fact is that naturally occurring radionuclides are different elements. If they are different elements, they are characterized by wide variety of the absorption types and the transfer factors, which are used, for example, the calculation of the internal exposure. So, and what is the most visible and discrepancy is that if we look in this problem from the other side, when we try to calculate the dose, especially when we try to calculate the committed dose, the rule is just to use the dose caused by each radionuclide. The summation rule is working, which is not assumed based on this criteria of the 1 becquerel per gram. And the next thing which is important, and it is the source for the, I think that in many cases the underestimation of the existing exposure is that the contribution from the third decay series, so the actinium decay series, is completely neglected. So just providing you some evidence for that. So it is a simple calculation of the committed dose due to the inhalation of the dust with the activity concentration of the all-natural radionuclides being in the secular equilibrium at the level of the 1 becquerel per gram. So, and then you can see that considering the uranium decay series, the most important contributor is thorium-230. And then you can see that just based on the typical condition which we can expect to have in the working places, the dose caused by the thorium-230 is just close to 1 millisievert per year. So, and it's only from the uranium decay series. So then considering the thorium decay series, so we have the 2 thorium isotopes, and then again, their contribution to the dose is close to the 1 millisievert. And then third one, so what I said about the actinium decay series, you can see that the contribution of the actinium decay series is very similar to the contribution given by uranium-238, and then it must be underlined that the ratio, activity ratio between uranium-238 and uranium-235 is already included in this calculation. So, and then you can see just simple comparison of this contribution. So, just considering of the decay series. So, and then see that it is the content contribution from the uranium-235. It is very important. It is almost half of the contribution of uranium-238. Once more, the ratio between uranium-238 and uranium-235 is already included. So, and then you can see that considering just evaluating the committed dose by using the sum of the contribution of all radionuclides, what is required. So, just at the level of the 1 becquerel per gram, and the typical condition on the workplaces, and considering only an inhalation of the dust, we will have the dose above the 1 millisievert per year for each decay series, not for all of them, but for each decay series, and sometimes some radionuclides is very important. And a very similar situation is when we consider the exposure to the external radiation. Again, the contribution of the radionuclides is not the same, so there are significant differences. So, and then just you can see that the contribution of the actinium-228, so in reality the radium-228, so it is the biggest among the thorium decay series. So, and the second is the thallium-228, which in fact is not corresponding to the thorium-228. So, and then you have to pay attention that it is a logarithmic scale in this case. So, and then it is again a kind of evidence that considering all natural radionuclides separately, it is the effect of the evaluation is much more different than assuming that all of them are the same. So, and then it is our suggestion is just try to prepare the specific clearance level for each radionuclide, maybe not for each radionuclide as we have in the decay series, but some typical sub-series. The consequence of this clearance level expressed as for the whole decay series has also a kind of the practical implication, because the final user of this criteria are just focused on the regulation. And they are just focused to get information about the parent radionuclides, about the uranium-238 and the thorium-232. So, and then very often the assumption about the secular equilibrium is done, and then only one radionuclide is measured, and then conclusion is given about all members of the decay series. So, in different cases, it can lead to the overestimation as well as to the underestimation of existing exposure. So, and then, of course, it is very important to carry out the very careful non-characterization, just to know what kind of situation we can meet in the natural decay series. So, and then if you look at some simple illustration. So you can see the uranium decay series, and then it is the 13 alpha emitters, 11 beta emitters, 4 gamma emitters, and the 10 different elements. 10 different elements in them, and it is one of the most feature of natural decay series. The similar situation is in the thorium decay series, so also it's a very complex mixture of the different elements and of course different radionuclides. And what we can expect in the case when our decay series are exposed to the external conditions, so we have to consider the different subseries, and then we have to consider what is going on in such a subseries. The most typical is radium-228, and then when radium-228 is separated somehow, and then we have the subseries starting from the radium-226, so then we need to wait just 38 days to get the equilibrium with the radon. Radon needs 4 hours to get equilibrium with the short-lived product. So and then radium needs to wait 38 days to get equilibrium with all progeny of radon, but to get equilibrium with the lead-210, so we have to wait more than 200 years. So it is also a very important issue which must be considered in case of the evaluation of natural decay series. The similar situation, however, much more complex is in case of the thorium, because in case of the thorium we have no equilibrium at all, so we have so-called the transient equilibrium, so that it is just more complex because we have the completely different ratio between particular radionuclides. So, and the last but not least suggestion is about the development of the new mitigation of the preventive method. So based on our experience collected in frame of the radon project, we know that in some industries it is a quite well-developed method for the NOR treatment, especially due to the favorable condition existing, for example, in the mining industry, when we have the good opportunity for the dilution or the blending of the NOR. So, and then it is that technically such options are very easy, and under favorable condition it is not necessary to make the big additional investment. So it could be done sometimes by the way of the technological process, but the problem is with the regulation, because as you know we have a total ban of the dilution of the radioactive waste. We have some exclusion given by European directive, European Basic Safety Standard, but it is also limitated. So for such option we have good justification, and then I think that slight small changes in the regulation could solve this problem, and also try to apply such a method for the treatment in other industries than mining. And the last but not least thing is that the situation that the NOR residue very often can be considered as the source of the valuable elements. And then we have some options, some possibilities, and also some examples which were discussed in frame of the radon project, where we can get some valuable elements from our NOR residue, also including the radionuclides, which can be used for the medical purposes. But again, we have the problem with the legal circumstances. So usually it is the problem because it could be forbidden due to the radiation risk. So, and then also we see such solution to improve the regulation. So thank you very much. So, and then I think I'm in time.